many, many years ago was the disappearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami. So we're going to speak about Srila Jiva Goswami. So as we do on most disappearance days of great devotees, we chant this nice prayer called Saparshada Gora Viraha Vilapa. And anyway, we don't have time to put it on the screen, but this you can listen or you can follow and you can chant along if you know the song. Okay? So, someone's going to play the drum? Okay. Whoops. Jai Andilo Prema Dana Corona Prachur Henu Prabhu Kotagela Gacharya Thakur Kamura Sarup Rupa Kasanatan Kakatasa Raghunatha Patita Pavagan Kamurabhata Juga Kakagaviras Ekakale Kotagela Goranata Ragas Goranata Pashane Gutibo Mata Annaleva Shek Bo Goranga Go Neranete Gotagele Pabo Say Sabha Sangira Sange Ye Koilo Elas Say Sangana Payakande Narotamo Das Jai Anila Prema Tanna Karuna Pracho Jayacharya Thakur Jayacharya Thakur Acharya Thakur Jayacharya Thakur Jaya Jiva Goswami Jaya Jiva Goswami Jaya Jiva Goswami Jaya Jiva Goswami Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhayatananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadat Ha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamudamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lalasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bol All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namaum Vishnupadaya. Krishna Prastaya Bhutle. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi. Paschatya Dejatarne. Again, we'd like to welcome everybody here. Let me read the translation to this poem written by Narottama Das Thakur. And as I mentioned before, Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, informed us that we should chant this prayer whenever we are commemorating the disappearance day or days of great personalities. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy. Where is such a personality as Srinivasa Acharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? Where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association symptoms of ecstasy. I mean, I wish I had the same symptoms of ecstasy. Oh, was it? Gauranga balite habe pulaka sharir. Isn't it? Whenever you hear the name Gauranga, you start shaking and screaming like that. But I just pray for that day. When will that day come? Gauranga balite habe pulaka sharir. When I chant and I feel ecstasy in the body. And then, Kabhi Habe, Evravo Shri Vrindavanam. Then my mind will reveal Vrindavan. Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, no more ecstasy, accompanied by all these devotees, in whose association he performed. Gauranga. Gauranga, see, there's a great devotee there. Wow. Every time you say Gauranga, whose association performed his pastimes, Narottama Das simply weeps. So today we're going to talk about Jiva Goswami, Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Urminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, first of all, let's talk about the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Some of you may know about these 6 personalities. These are the initial next generation followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared over 500 years ago. Of course, we always say 500 years for the last 500 years, but anyway, but a long time ago, in the modern recorded history. And he is considered to be, by Gaudiya Vaishnavas that he is, Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani, who came down to teach the Yuga Dharma, Krishna Nama Sankirtan. And he is the most merciful incarnation or appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namo Mahavranyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Tasai Namaha. Because he's giving away freely what other incarnations had people pay a high price for. Krishna has a very high price for Krishna consciousness. His high price is surrender. But Lord Chaitanya's high price is Dinahina Yitachilo Harinamu Durilo. You just chant. That's it. Chant and follow a few little regulative principles which are easy to follow. That's it. That's all you got to do. No meat, fish, rags, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling, and chant the holy name. And you got it made. You're going back to Godhead. A few little details, too. But anyway, that's basically it. So Lord Chaitanya did not leave so much literature. In fact, he only left one basic poem, which is called the Shikshashtaka, which is 8 prayers to Lord Krishna. So he left it up to these 6 personalities to expand his teachings, or on his teachings, and he actually instructed these 6 personalities too in different ways. Especially Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami he spent the most time with. So these are the first followers of Lord Chaitanya, and then the next generation were devotees like Shaimananda Pandit, Srinivasacharya, and Narottama Das Thakur, whose poem we just read. So today we're going to talk about Srila Jiva Goswami, who is considered, and actually another point I want to make before we go on, is that all these 6 Goswamis are Nitya Siddha devotees. That means they came from the spiritual world. We came from somewhere else. But they came from the spiritual world. I mean, maybe we came from the spiritual world billions and trillions and quadrillions of lifetimes ago. But right now, we're lucky to be human beings. Probably because some devotee, like these 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, gave us a little prasadam in our last lives while we were barking at them. So, that's possible. That's possible. Prabhupada said that when I was young, we would feed the ducks prasadam every Sunday, whatever leftover bread there was at the temple. Prabhupada said they'll all become human beings and they'll be devotees. Wow. So just think about that. So that's why it's good to have a lot of cockroaches in your house, and feed them prasadam. Joking aside. So these 6 Goswamis in Vrindavan came from the spiritual world with the mission, just like Srila Prabhupada came from the spiritual world with the mission of saving us. Therefore, they're called Shaktavesh avatars. And Srila Jiva Goswami in particular is known in Krishna's pastimes as Vilas Manjari. be less Mundry. A Mundry is a small, well, let's talk about Krishna's pastimes, where Krishna is surrounded by gopis, that he dances with the gopis, but Krishna doesn't dance with the Mundries. They're very young girls, and they assist the gopis in these different pastimes. So Jiva Goswami and also Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami were of this particular category. So he was born, as you see in the slide, about 1511, and he was the son of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami's brother, who was initiated also by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His name was Sri Vallabha, and also Anupama. And so he, in other words, he was the nephew of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, and Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, as well as Sri Vallabha, got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a place called Ramakeli. Ramakeli is a village, and they approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiated them on the spot with their spiritual names. And so at that point, they decided to leave their government service because they were highly posted, actually extremely wealthy, and they were working for the Nawab Hussain Shah, who was like the Muslim administrator of that particular part of Bengal. And somehow or other, they left their employment. The reason they were employed for the Muslim government is because the Muslim government had threatened them that unless they worked for the Muslim government, they were going to kill all the Vaishnavas. You know, so that was a reason why they took that employment. Although ordinarily, being born or appearing in high-class Brahmin families, they would never work for anybody who wasn't Krishna conscious. They would, at that particular time, it was considered that one would lose his caste if he worked for someone who wasn't Krishna conscious. Nowadays, don't worry about it. I know most of you have jobs. You don't lose your caste because we're Vaishnavas. And a Vaishnava is transcendental to Varnashram culture. Once someone becomes a Vaishnava, they transcend all bodily distinctions. So whether one is American or Indian or male or female or whatever, they transcend that particular distinction, and they can serve Krishna in various capacities without losing their spiritual position, because the holy names are so powerful. As long as they're chanting the holy names, they prevent someone from being influenced by the modes of material nature. The holy names are aseptic and antiseptic. Everyone knows the difference between those two words? Antiseptic means it cures all diseases. Aseptic means you're not subject to those diseases. So anyways, Jiva Goswami was born in 1511, and as we mentioned before, his uncles and father resigned from their posts of the Hussain Shah, who ruled Bengal from 1493 to 1519, and they decided to join Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu completely. So Jiva Goswami heard that his father and uncles had decided to make the decision to work for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Jiva Goswami, who was just really small at that particular point, like 5 or 6 years old, he wanted to join them, so it wasn't appropriate at that particular time for him to join them. He had to remain with his mother. So even as a young child, he had a dream, and in that dream he saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing in his Sankirtan, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu beckoning him. So shortly after that, his father passed away. That is, Sri Vallabha passed away. And Jiva Goswami was raised by his mother at this particular point, and he wanted to join Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So at the age of 17, he actually left home. And he first went and met Lord Nityananda at Navadvip in the home of Srivas Pandit and received Lord Nityananda's blessings. There's no indication that he actually met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly, but he did meet Lord Nityananda, And when he met Lord Nityananda not only gave him his blessings, but he took him around all of Navadvip and showed him the places of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. That's the Navadvip Dham Parikrama, which many devotees go on nowadays during the Gaur Purnima time. So, as it says here, it's unclear whether Srila Jiva Goswami ever met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's no indication he did. And Lord Nityananda gave him so much mercy that he touched Jiva Goswami's head with his feet. He showed, it's described here, incomparable mercy upon Jiva Goswami, and he lifted him from the ground and embraced him very tightly. Now, for those of you who don't know who Lord Nityananda is, Balaram Hoyle Nitai. He is Balaram, the original guru, as mentioned in the Vedic literatures. Nayamatma Bala Hirina Labwa. No one could make any spiritual advancement without getting the mercy of Balaram. And of course, Balaram is represented by one spiritual master. So he got Balaram's mercy, and that enabled him to join Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. We find in the case of Raghunath Das Goswami, who's another one of the Goswamis, he was unable to leave home until he got Lord Nityananda's mercy. And he got Lord Nityananda's mercy at this wonderful festival called the Panihati Festival. And in the springtime, I think it's around May or something like that, we'll be celebrating that festival. That's the Chip Rice Festival. I think you all may remember that, where everybody gets to decorate pots and we have a good time. And so that's the festival where Raghunath Das got the mercy from Lord Nityananda. So it's very important to get Lord Nityananda's mercy. Extremely important. Without the mercy, you cannot approach Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Nityananda kept him with him for some time, and then he sent him to Vrindavan. He said, you should go to Vrindavan right away, but on the way to Vrindavan, you should stop off, and guess what? To see Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's brother, whose name was Madhusudana Vichaspati. Now, why did he ask him to do that? He asked him to do that because Madhusudana Vichaspati was expert in Sanskrit. Now, it's not required that you be expert in Sanskrit to be a devotee. Don't worry. But Jiva Goswami had a mission, and his mission was to establish the authenticity of the Bhakti Shastras and the conclusion, the Siddhanta of the Bhakti Shastras, utilizing philosophy. And Jiva Goswami is known, as Srila Prabhupada stated, as the best philosopher, basically, of course, other than Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna, best philosopher of all time. In fact, in Benares University, there's a department named after Srila Jiva Goswami, a philosophy department named after him. So he's known as the best philosopher, and we're going to talk about his books in a few moments. So after he studied and became very expert in all aspects of Sanskrit, grammar, rhetoric, etc., he went to Brajamandal. Brajamandal is depicted here, and he arrived in 1541, and he was the youngest of all the Goswamis in Vrindavan, he was initiated by Srila Rupa Goswami after Rupa Goswami tested him. How did he test him? Not just by giving a grammatical exam or some sort of philosophical exam. He tested him to see if he was ready to be humble, because that is the quality of a disciple. Samit Pani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Of course, that's also the quality of a guru. The guru has to be the best disciple, and the best disciple is a guru. So what does it mean, Samit Pani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam? That a disciple has to be humble, ready to fetch firewood and water for the spiritual master, has to understand the philosophy and not deviate from the practices of Krishna consciousness. Just like Krishna. When Krishna was in the ashram in Ujjain of Sandipani Muni, Krishna was asked to do a lot of humble service. He's God. Yet he was going out and collecting firewood for his spiritual master. Now, he didn't say to his guru, "Hey, Guru Maharaj, I'm God. What are you doing? If you don't behave properly with God, you're going to be in trouble." His guru knew he was God. And his guru gave him these assignments in the same way that Krishna followed the assignments in order to set a good example for others. Isn't it? Yad yada charisti shreshtas tat tat evetaro janaha. So Krishna one time went out to collect firewood, and he and his friend Sudam got lost in the forest. And, of course, Sudam had prasadam with him, or boga. Didn't share it, and became poor later on. But later on, when the spiritual master found them, he blessed Krishna, that your words will always be fresh. Of course, Krishna doesn't need anyone's blessings. So what happened is the Rupa Goswami tested him by having him do menial service, cleaning the pots, cleaning the latrine. That's the test. I remember when I joined the Krishna Consciousness Movement in 1971, that's the first service they gave me. And I was thinking, I've never done this before my whole life. That's what mothers are for. That's why God has invented mothers, right? So I would always take my clothes and just throw them on the floor, and then magically they'd be done the next day. Of course, when you become a guru, you can still have that same facility. Disciples pick it up. So it's actually true. So he had to do all this humble service, even though he was so erudite, the most erudite person basically in the world. And he did that for Rupa Goswami, who was to be his guru. And then Rupa Goswami became very satisfied with him and gave him initiation. But then something happened after he gave him initiation. Actually, two things happened that got Rupa Goswami to be a little angry with him. One thing was that there was this acharya called Vallabhacharya. Some of you may know about him. He was the head of the Pushti Marg, which is very prominent in Vrindavan. They're probably, other than the Gaudiyas, they're probably the most prominent organization. And Vallabhacharya had gone to Srila Rupa Goswami, and Vallabhacharya had read Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is our nectar devotion. And Vallabhacharya had a little correction. And Rupa Goswami, just a grammatical correction, not a philosophical correction. And Rupa Goswami accepted it. But Srila Jiva Goswami, who had heard this correction because he had been fanning his guru at that particular point, he got so upset that he approached Vallabhacharya later on and said, you were wrong. And he defeated Vallabhacharya. And then Vallabhacharya went back to Rupa Goswami and said, Jiva explained this to me, he defeated me, and Rupa Goswami got angry at Jiva Goswami for violating etiquette. Because Vallabhacharya was a very, very senior Vaishnava, and Vallabhacharya had got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, he had gotten chastised by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was very, very close to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was initiated by Gadadhar Pandit Goswami. Really, really an important personality, the head of the Pushti Marg. So then another thing happened, and it's not really sure which one he got really chastised for, but there was another thing. There was a Rupa Narayan, who was a conquering Pandit. In India, they used to have these Pandits, which probably called bandits anyway. These Pandits who would go all around challenging people to debates. Like nowadays, of course, you have these debate contests and things like that, and one gets a trophy with a big mouth on it or whatever. We have one devotee who used to win all the debates, and she tells me about it all the time. So anyway, still does, okay. So anyway, so what happened, he challenged this Rupa Narayan. He actually challenged Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, and Rupa and Sanatan Goswami not wanting to waste their time with this. Why are we going to argue about this? Whatever. We'll sign this certificate. It's called a Jaya Patra that indicates you won. Just get out of here. You won. We'll sign it. Okay, they signed it. He goes around. This guy goes and says, I won a debate with Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. And when Jiva Goswami heard that, he said, well, you haven't debated with me yet. And in 7 days of debates, he defeated soundly this personality. And this personality was so defeated that he simultaneously had a call of nature while he was defeated. That means extreme stress. And then for the rest of his life, he had PTSD from that. So then Jiva Goswami went to Rupa Goswami and said, I took care of this guy. And either because he bragged about it, because it was the right thing for him to defeat this particular personality, because he was keeping or establishing the reputation of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. So if your guru has been defamed in some way, then it's your duty to actually rectify the situation. So he did that. But because he bragged and because he defeated Vallabhacharya, not defeated, but had that argument with Vallabhacharya, therefore Rupa Goswami said, you shouldn't have taken sannyas. You took sannyas at too young an age. And so, therefore, just leave Vrindavan. You shouldn't be in Vrindavan. Because if one remains in Vrindavan too long, one tends to take things for granted. Complacency. Actually, some of the acharyas say one should only go for 2 weeks, fortnight at a time to Vrindavan. And we see this sometimes, like devotees that go to Vrindavan and then they just get into it. And Prabhupada really didn't want, unless the devotees were serving the mission, people living long-term in Vrindavan. He wanted, if they were serving the mission, in charge of the temple, if they were preaching, distributing books, managing or something like that, fine. But just to live there, Prabhupada didn't really want that. Because people take the place for granted. And every single resident of Vrindavan is eternally related, close, a pure devotee. But they don't always act according to our particular perception as we think devotees should act. In other words, they may not be getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, chanting all their rounds or having sadhana, stuff like that, which we do because we're sadhakas. But they're close, they're Krishna's family. So Lord Chaitanya understood that, and when he sent his associate Jagadananda Pandit to Vrindavan, he said, don't criticize the residents of Vrindavan and just stay there a short time and always stay with Sanatan Goswami, who will protect you. So we see this. I mean, I've been in Vrindavan, Govardhan many, many, many times, and I can see that they're very, very special people. Even the bungis, street sweepers, they're actually great devotees. And if you offend any of them, that's it. You are finished spiritually. So, anyway, so he was sent out of Vrindavan. So this is just the explanation of what happened. So anyway, he was sent out of Vrindavan, and he went to, there's some stories he went to Mathura and other places. Some of the biographies say that he was living in a crocodile hole in the bank of the Yamuna, and the other people say he was living in the hollowed out tree in Mathura. But in any case, he was separated from Rupa and Sanatan Goswami and separated from Vrindavan. And he was executing really, really severe austerities. So as he was executing severe austerities, Sanatan Goswami, the brother of Rupa Goswami, and also guru of Rupa Goswami, at least Siksha Guru, because Lord Chaitanya gave them initiation, became very concerned. He said to Rupa Goswami, where is Jiva Goswami? And Rupa Goswami explained. And Sanatan Goswami said to him, You are forgetting one of the cardinal teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know, the main teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Rupa Goswami said, what do you mean I'm forgetting? Which teaching? And he went through all the teachings. Chant Hare Krishna. I'm chanting Hare Krishna. Eat prasadam. Eating prasadam. Serve the Vaishnavas. Serving the Vaishnavas. And then he came to one of the most important teachings. Actually, if we have to summarize, there's two important things that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught. One is called Namaruchi. Namaruchi means a taste for chanting Krishna's name. The other one is Jiva Doya. Everybody understands? It means compassion to all the Jiva souls. Now, that word Jiva can indicate Jiva souls, or it can indicate Jiva Goswami. So, Sanatana Goswami was indicating to Srila Rupa Goswami that you're not kind to Jiva Goswami. And he said, uh-oh, okay, he can come back. And Jiva Goswami came back, and Rupa Goswami engaged him again in his service. And after this disappearance of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, Jiva was established as the foremost teacher of our Sampradaya. He engaged everyone in the worship of Krishna through the teachings given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Especially, he established one of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's most important contributions, which is called Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Now, what does that mean? Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva means one or inconceivable oneness and difference simultaneously. And it avoids, as described here, the extremes of the Dvaita philosophy and the Advaita philosophy. Dvaita means dualism, extreme dualism, that there's God and the creation, and they're completely separate. You know, I'm just making a basic summary. And monism, or Advaita, means that God and the creation, everything is one, and actually we're just an illusion, thinking that there's differences or variety in this material world. And once we get out of illusion, we'll understand that we're all one. I'm you, you're me. Phew, terrible, isn't it? I remember when I used to go to the universities to preach, there were a lot of people espousing this particular type of philosophy, which is taught by Sripad Shankaracharya, because he was given that mission to teach it. And they would say to me, I'm you and you're me. And I say, okay, your wallet is my wallet. And they changed they became dualist after that particular one, because they didn't want to apply it practically. So there's a Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva philosophy taught by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I mean, just let me give an example that Prabhupada often gives of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, that you have the sun, and the sun shine comes from the sun, and sometimes we say when we open up the curtains and it's sunny outside, let the sun in. So in one sense the sun is coming in, but in another sense it's not coming in. So the sun is one and difference. Nice music. So the sun is one, and the sunshine is one and different from the sun itself, the sun globe. And of course, Prabhupada also talked about the sun, God, Vivaswan. So this is a very important contribution. Jiva Goswami also established something called the Vishwa Vaishnava Raja Sabha, the World Association of Vaishnavas, and the Rupanuga Yogapith, an educational facility for Vaishnavas. And so he was so erudite, and he was so open to having philosophical discussions even with the Muslim government at that particular time. Of course, there was a favorable Muslim emperor. His name was Akbar, and that's before Aurangzeb, his grandson. But that's a different story. So what happened is Akbar was an admirer of Srila Jiva Goswami, and one time he actually came to see Srila Jiva Goswami in this place called Nidhivan in Vrindavan. It means a sleeping forest. Some of you may have been. Anyone here has been to Nidhivan in Vrindavan? There's actually a bed there that signifies where Radha and Krishna rested. So he took him there, and he gave Akbar a vision of the spiritual world, a vision of Radha and Krishna. And so Akbar was so impressed that he actually gave money and arranged for the construction of different temples, different Goswami temples. He was very, very favorable. Of course, later on, we know Aurangzeb was exactly the opposite. Because Akbar, here's an interesting thing about Akbar, he wanted to establish the unity of all religions. So he would have philosophical discussions with the Muslims and any other religion that was there, and Jains and other religions that were there at that time, to try to get everyone to live together peacefully. He was a great personality, and he helped the Goswamis immensely. There's even some story how he met with Mirabai and other personalities. So he helped construct the Radha Govinda Mandir and other mandirs in Vrindavan under the guidance of Srila Jiva Goswami. And then Srila Jiva Goswami established the deity of Radha Damodar, which was given to him by Rupa Goswami, who personally carved this deity. Radha Damodar, you can go see the deity today. Here's a picture of Radha Damodar. It's a little picture. So Jiva Goswami resided, at that point, he just stayed in Vrindavan. And he also associated with Raghunath Das Goswami. And he actually helped Raghunath Das Goswami excavate Radha Kund. Because Raghunath Das Goswami was reluctant to put anything in his name. Because he had come from a very wealthy family. And he was very scared of having anything to do with property or money or touching anything like that. So Jiva Goswami put the Radha Kund and other properties that were under the jurisdiction of Raghunath Das Goswami in his name. So while he was in Vrindavan, he was also visited by Janava Mata, the wife of Lord Nityananda, who came twice to Vrindavan to see Jiva Goswami and to see the other Goswamis in Vrindavan. And she incidentally was a great spiritual master in our disciplic succession, because sometimes people say that ladies can't be spiritual masters. Well, there's a lot of history where there are ladies who are gurus. You don't like that? Your mother will talk to you later at that. You think it's all right? Okay. See, he's all right. So anyway, so basically, she was the head of all the Vaishnavas at that particular time. Not only was she a spiritual master, she was the head of all the Vaishnavas, and she was in charge of the first festival for the big festival for Gaur Purnima in Keturi. And she guided the next generation of followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like Srinivasacharya, Narottama Das Thakur, and Shaimananda. And these three actually were initiated. Srinivasacharya, not initiated, but instructed, sorry. They were instructed by Srila Jiva Goswami and trained up in Krishna consciousness. And Srinivasacharya and the others, they took the books of the Goswamis under the direction of Srila Jiva Goswami to eastern India, to Bengal, and they were the original book distributors. On the way to, or in Bengal, they had the book stolen, famous story, and this king, his name was Viraham Vira. That means very heroic king. He had the book stolen because he was a dacoit, but later on he saw the books, realized that they were the writings of great personalities, and he took initiation from Srinivasacharya and made sure everybody in his kingdom was a devotee. Jiva Goswami compiled more than 25 books, and these are major books. There's grammar books, Harinam Vyakarana, which is a grammar book establishing Sanskrit grammar based upon Krishna's names, like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tried to do with his students. There's more dramas, stava, Leela books, commentaries, and above all, he's famous for his Shat Sandarbhas. Now here's a partial list. Of course, the Sandarbhas are not listed in this list, and I'm not going to read this list. One of the books we're working on right now, doing a narration, some of you may have heard some of our narrations, is called the Gopal Champu. Anyone's heard of the Gopal Champu? It's a amazing, a very thick book that details Krishna's pastimes with more detail than the Bhagavatam. It's like an elaboration on the Bhagavatam stories. Many of the acharyas did that. There's the Ananda Vrindavan Champu, which is a similar but smaller book written by Kavi Karnapur, elaborating on Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and in Dwarka. So he passed away in 1608, and his deity of Radha Damodar is still being worshipped in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. And he has a samadhi on the grounds of the Radha Damodar temple. Incidentally, about the Radha Damodar temple, that is Srila Prabhupada's eternal residence. Srila Prabhupada wrote his Bhagavatams there, the original 3 volumes of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada basically it was inspired by the Bhajan Kutir of Rupa Goswami and Samadhi of Rupa Goswami that's there at the Radha Damodar temple. And today the devotees preserve the rooms of Srila Prabhupada at the Radha Damodar temple. So Prabhupada said that's his eternal residence. And the other Goswamis of Vrindavan, when they were still on this earth, used to meet there with Srila Jiva Goswami and discuss the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And there's many, many samadhis around this temple. So his deity, Radha Damodar, is still being worshipped. And he has a Bhajan Kutir in Radhakund near Lalita Kund. He's a map of the Radha Damodar temple. Some of you have been there, you know. So the primary things are the Bhajan Kutir of Rupa Goswami, which is this right here. I don't know if you can see. No, you can't see the arrow. And then the Samadhi of Srila Rupa Goswami. And Prabhupada would give classes to the devotees when he first came to India with his group of Western devotees on the nectar of devotion at the Samadhi and at the Bhajan Kutir. And there's another place right near the Bhajan Kutir where Jiva Goswami, some of you may know about this, used to, and the other Goswamis used to wash their feet before they engaged in scriptural study. It's like an indentation. Whoops, sorry. It's like an indentation in the ground, and with dirt in it. Anyone seen it? You've seen it. And then what you do is take some of the dirt and you pop it in your mouth to get the dust from their lotus feet. And here we see the devotees visiting Srila Prabhupada's room, going to the deities. That's the deities of Radha Damodar. And that's the Radha Damodar temple. So, let's see if we have some time. I just want to explain a little bit about his magnum opus, which is the Shat Sandarbhas. Shat Sandarbhas means the 6 theses about the various aspects of Krishna consciousness. The first thesis is called the Tattva Sandarbha, which deals with epistemology. Epistemology basically means how do you know what you know? So he establishes, just to make a long story short, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest source of knowledge, incontrovertible source of knowledge. And then the second one, we're just going to go through very quickly, is called the Bhagavad Sandarbha, which draws a distinction between the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, and talks about deity worship. Third one is called the Paramatma, and there's a description of the super soul there, and how there's millions and millions of living entities. Also describes the Leela avatars of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also describes the Lord's 6 opulences, like wealth, strength, renunciation, fame, beauty, let's see, what else? Fame, knowledge. Forget about knowledge. 6 opulences. Then the fourth one is called the Krishna Sandarbha, and this proves incontrovertibly that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's the source of all the incarnations and avatars. As Bhagavatam says, Ete Chanksa Kalat Pumsa, Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. That is, Krishna is the source of all the other avatars and incarnations. And also, Srimati Radharani's position is described as the Adi Shakti of the Lord. The fifth one is called the Bhakti Sandarbha, and there, of course, devotional service is described, and how one can reach pure love of God by the performance of bhakti, both sadhana bhakti, which consists of Vaidhi and Raganuga, and then Bhava Bhakti, and ultimately Prema Bhakti. And then the sixth one is called the Priti Sandarbha, is a thesis on love of God, describing actually what love of God is, and a description of the different rasas that one may have with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such as the Shanta, Dasha, Vatsalya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, and then also description of interacting rasas or improper combinations of rasas. So Jiva Goswami is, we are grateful to Jiva Goswami for establishing beyond any doubt the position of Bhakti Yoga, the position of Krishna, and today we are commemorating his disappearance day. So anyone have any questions about Srila Jiva Goswami? So we are members of a very important sampradaya. We should be very proud of these different personalities, and we are servants of these different personalities. And Srila Prabhupada is, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have been given association and knowledge about these great personalities. So anyone have any questions before we end? Yes, Ujjwala. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-oh. Chant. The chanting of the holy name. And reading Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, yes, I mean, obviously, if you have a short time to live, how short do you have? Oh, 1 day? I would say if you have 7 days, then you find Shukadev Goswami and you have him do a Bhagavad Saptaha. But if you have 1 day, then you do what Maharaj Parikshit's mother did, Uttara, and then you read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So, because that's like a summary of the Srimad Bhagavatam right there. So, obviously it depends on what sort of situation you're in. I mean, if there is your Guru Maharaj or a great pure devotee, and let's say if you're not initiated, then better ask for initiation. And take shelter. You know, it's actually the most important thing is taking shelter of a pure devotee and getting the mercy of a pure devotee. Of course, then you have, Maharaj Katvanga, there's that story. He was just informed that he was going to die any instant, and he immediately came down to the earth planet and took shelter. Obviously, that meant he approached great saints, got advice from them. Actually, just unpacking what your question is as I'm thinking about it. I would say if you're informed that you have very little time left, you would approach a great personality and ask him or her, what should I do? Because I'm scared. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much for saying that, approaching Sharanagata Bhakta. And the emphasis here is to take shelter of a pure devotee.
Yes.
Even in that short period of time.
Yes.
Right? Second thing is,
but that means taking instruction from the pure devotee.
Thank you.
Not just that you take, I take shelter of you.
Right.
But what should I do? Like Parikshit Maharaj did. Right. Parikshit Maharaj was asking all these sages, and basically until Shukadev Goswami came, there was no common agreement between all the sages. But as soon as Shukadev Goswamis came, then they accepted him. So,
Thank you, Maharaj. So that's taking the shelter, as you said, instruction from a pure devotee.
yeah.
So, so the goal, I'm just asking this question in general because if we think about spiritual urgency in bhakti, when we are trying to practice bhakti, what are we aiming at? Shravanam is for smaranam. And before we leave the body, the smaranam should really be established within us. And that's why we take the shelter and instruction from Guru. Yes.
There may be many different motives. I mean, Mama Janmani Shre Bhavatad Bhakti Haituki Twaye. You know, someone may be interested in just becoming an eternal servant. And so that's why we're taking shelter. You know, ready, please let me serve you life after life. So yes, Smaranam is very important, of course. But everything is dependent on Shravanam. Everything is built in within Shravanam. All the Navabhakti processes are built in. If one hears, Shravanam, for those of you who don't know what it is, it means hearing. If you hear nicely, you'll automatically remember. And if you hear nicely, you're going to be able to speak nicely. And if you hear nicely, you're going to be able to serve nicely. If you hear nicely, you're going to be able to do deity worship nicely. If you hear nicely, you understand Bhaktaram Jagatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, the Lord is your friend. And if you hear nicely, you'll surrender everything to Krishna. And all the 9 processes. Actually, this is mentioned in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that all the 9 processes are automatically contained within proper hearing. Shrushro Shradanasha Vasudeva Gata Ruchi Shan Mahatsevya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nashevanat. So that's the most important, to hear. And that's why we approach a great soul, to hear what is my duty at the time of death. And that's what, just look at Parikshit Maharaj as a perfect example. He said, what is the duty? He says, what is the duty of someone continually throughout life, and also what is the duty of one at the time of death? And it came out to the same thing.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank
so, yeah, I mean, if we find out we're going to die, it's a little scary, isn't it? You're going to die tomorrow. Do you have any famous last words, as they say? Yeah. But a pure devotee is not scared. Pure devotee, like Prabhupada gives the example that during the bombing of Calcutta, he just kept eating his prasadam. Everyone else was saying, go to the bomb shelter. And he just said, no. And he said he could see Krishna in the bombs. But he said that's not such a lovable form of Krishna. So, any other quick questions? Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It depends on your bhakti. That's the difference. If you have more bhakti than the Pujari at Jagannath Puri, then I'll be over at your house in a few minutes. we're going to be distributing prasadam from your house. Krishna's Bhakti Mama Vijanati, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yomi Bhakti Prayachati. The bhakti is the essential ingredient. I mean, there was that one devotee who was offering, because he was so much in love with Krishna, he was offering banana peel by accident to Krishna. And I'd love to have that banana peel. Normally, nobody eats banana peels. Of course, you can make sabji from banana peels. I don't know if you knew that. But normally, you don't take a raw banana peel. But he was offering, and that's pure devotion. Or Maha Prasad is even better. Maha Prasadam is bhoga that's offered with devotion and then taken by a great personality like Srila Prabhupada. When I was with Srila Prabhupada, I would steal the prasad and I wouldn't share it. I was greedy. Anyway, I even ate the grape stems, the orange rinds, and I would have eaten the plate had it not been metal. If it was a paper plate, I would have stuck the whole plate in my mouth. So that's called Mahaprasad, which is actually even better than Mahaprasad, isn't it? Devotees fight for that because there's very powerful substances, the food remnants of a pure devotee, the foot bathing water of a pure devotee, and the foot dust of a pure devotee. And of course the sound vibration is actually very important for a pure devotee. It's described in the Bhagavatam that the Prabhupada described that the saffron dust particles of the lotus feet of the Lord are contained within the sound vibration of a pure devotee. So if you listen very carefully to Prabhupada's speaking, Prabhupada especially his bhajans and chanting, you can actually hear Krishna's lotus feet. Yes, if you listen you have to listen with complete rapt attention. You'll hear symptoms of ecstasy, pure love, the bhakti lata bij, and you will actually get a glimpse of Krishna's lotus feet. And reading Prabhupada's books, same thing, which Aditya Narayan is going to tell us about distributing. But there Prabhupada said his purports are actually his ecstatic manifestations. So, I mean, this is a hint. So that's Mahaprasadam, better than prasadam that comes from halfway around the world. But still, so when offer says Jagannath Mahaprasadam, I will take it. But taking a remnant doesn't mean you have to eat the whole plate. You can take a little and share it with other people. Don't be like me. Okay, I think we have to end now. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Jiva Goswami Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. So thank you so much, Maharaj, for a beautiful presentation on the glories, the life of Jiva Goswami and his contribution in the form of books. Such a wonderful and comprehensive presentation in a short time. So let's again thank His Holiness Bhai Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Hari Bol! Srila Jiva Goswami ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, His Holiness Bhai Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. Hare Krishna. So, a few quick announcements before we go on for prasadam. So, today's feast is actually sponsored by Srinivas Guru Prabhu and Arundhati Prayasi Mataji. Are they here? So today is their 25th marriage anniversary, and they have sponsored the feast. Haribo! So we would like to thank both of them and their entire family for their continuous dedicated services to New Goloka. They're always very enthusiastic to serve, and whenever there's an opportunity, they never say no. They're always here, do service, and then they just give their 100% to serving Shri Radha Golokananda. So we like to. So we'd like to thank Srinivas Prabhu and Arundhati Prayasi Mataji for all your wonderful services, and we pray. Let's pray to Shri Radha Golokananda that together they can progress in their spiritual life and grow in their services to New Goloka Dham. So everyone can loudly chant the Maha Mantra praying for them. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Also, we would like to congratulate a few devotees who received their first and second initiation last weekend. And we have Varsha. Right. So she was Varsha Mataji before, but now she's received initiation from His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and she is Varshana Priya Devi Dasi.
Wow.
Haribo! So we'd like to congratulate Mataji for her wonderful initiation from His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and also thank her for all her services. And also many devotees received second initiation. We have Manohar Gopal Prabhu, then Sudhir Gopi Mataji, Gopinath Acharya Prabhu and Pratna Mataji, they are not here. Haribo. Then Ananda Vilas Prabhu. Haribo. Who else? Sakhi Priya Mataji, yes, yeah. Sakhi Priya Mataji also. So let's congratulate all of them, and let's pray that with this first and second initiation, they can grow in their bhakti and grow in their services to Shri Shri Radha Goloka. So let's chant one Hare Krishna Mahamantra for all of them. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And also, as I announced before the class, on 1st of January, we are going to have 8 hours of kirtan here in the temple room. It's a 1st of January, very auspicious day to come. It's a Sunday to come and spend the entire day here in front of Shri Shri Radha Golokananda. And there'll be kirtan starting from 11 in the morning all the way till 7 p.m. And the special highlight of that 8-hour kirtan will be Maharaj will bring his guitar, and he'll be doing kirtan from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. here in the temple room. Hello. And a class with that, yes. So it'll be very nice. 1st of January, please do come here. We'll have prasadam through the day, and then there'll be some prasadam stalls also, and then Sunday feast prasadam. So 1st of January is very auspicious. We'll make it very auspicious with the holy name, by chanting the holy name. And if you like to sponsor any aspect of the festival, you can sponsor the prasadam. Our Sunday feast sponsorship is $301. So 1st of January, if you like to come and make an offering to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda, you can. I'll be downstairs near the prasadam table, or Mother Leela Shakti is right there. So you can contact us if you like to make any sponsorship. You can also sponsor the first Mangla Aarti of 2023 for $108, and then the first offering, first Rajbhog Aarti, and so on. Right? Thank you. And also just quick, we have the temple calendars and also the BBT calendars for 2023 available. So if you have not received the temple calendar, you can pick up at the book table. And as Maharaj was mentioned about Prabhupada's books, so this is like the final phase of our Gita marathon. So this entire December, we have been trying to distribute Bhagavad Gitas. And our global goal is 3 million copies of Bhagavad Gita all around the world. Haribo. So everyone can be a part of this. You can actually sponsor Bhagavad Gitas. You can take a case of Bhagavad Gita or any Bhagavad Gita, how many you want. Take it with you. You can keep it for the year. You can distribute to your friends, neighbors. And we have the experience. Whenever you have extra copies of Gita in your car, you will find someone who will ask you about the temple or about something about Gita, and you have the opportunity to give it. So always keep books in your car. It's always very auspicious and also gives you an opportunity to share the special message that Krishna has given for all of us. So at the book table, we'll have Gitas and the calendars. So if you like to take, we have it in multiple languages, Tamil, Hindi, Gujarati, and Spanish. So if you like to sponsor, this is the last weekend for December. So please consider. Okay. I think that's it. So those who are new here for the first time, please do leave your email addresses there at the guest book, or I'll be downstairs. You can give me your email and also physical address, so we can mail you the calendars and also keep you updated about our upcoming festivals. And also one small thing, after the prasadam, we have a little seva. We are packing books that will be mailed out to different Gitas, which will be mailed out to different hospitals and nursing homes, and they have actually requested copies of Bhagavad Gita. So if you like to help with a simple packing and labeling seva, so after prasadam we'll have a little seva. So if you like to help, that'll be very appreciated. Thank you so much. So now we'll have prasadam downstairs. So again, we'd like to thank Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, His Holiness B. Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki, Bhagavad Mahaprasad ki.
Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmane Vaishnave Salpa Punyavritam Rajan Vishraso Neva Jayate Sharira Vidyaja Jodendriya Trahekal Jibe Phale Bhi Shaya Sagare Tar Madhye Jibayati লোভময় সুদূরমতি তাকে যে কঠিন সংসারে কৃষ্ণ বড় দয়াময় করিবারে জীবা জয় প্রসাদন দিল ভাই সে অনামৃত পাও রাধা কৃষ্ণ গুণ গাও প্রেমে ডাকো শ্রী চৈতন্য নিতাই ও প্রেমে ডাকো শ্রী চৈতন্য নিতাই জয় নিমাই জয় নিতাই ও জয় নিমাই জয় নিতাই জয় শ্রী কৃষ্ণ চৈতন্য প্রভু নিত্যানন্দ শ্রী অদ্বৈত গদাধর श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे भगवत महाप्रसाद की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय श्री राधा गोलोकानंद की जय सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।